Hey there, and welcome to More Than Meets These Guys.
Subdivisions.
This is not your usual episode from the beginning of the Transformers animated series. This is a sideshow that we'll be doing that whenever we have other interests that we want to talk about, when we have an off week or holidays or emergencies, and maybe something that I'm a fan of or Ed's a fan of, and vice versa. We may not, the one may not know as much about the other one's interests, so it's kind of a way for us to explore our other interests. So, welcome everyone, and we hope you enjoy this like we do. So, Ed, this week we got into the anime classic Appleseed.
Yeah, and this is one that I think this is kind of different than even the last time we did a subdivisions, where this is one that I don't think either one of us know a whole lot about. Like I know I've seen it in the past,
Mhm.
but I don't. This isn't one that's deep from my wheelhouse, and I don't think it is from yours either.
I actually had I years ago. I mean, we used to buy or rent, whenever you can get it, anime from the cover art. And this is one of those where I saw the cover art, I thought it sounded really cool. I read the back, sounded really cool, and I bought this on VHS years ago at like
Mhm.
Sam Goody or something like that,
Oh, yeah.
and took it home, and I was a little disappointed because
Because buddy, that cover art does not match what we see in the movie, and
no,
we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that
yeah, it,
down the road there.
yeah, it's completely it's art from the manga. And
Right, right.
this movie, actually, the 1988 movies we were doing, the movie doesn't match the manga at all. It's just like his own separate story. We're using the same character.
In every way, it does not
Yeah,
match the
yeah,
manga. We went over this last
manga.
time when we did Area 88.
Yeah,
I think we just settled on Japanese comics. But I'm
yeah,
going to say
pretty much.
Japanese comics.
That's good. That works. Um,
So yeah, so like we said, this is the 1988. It's an OVA though, which is kind of a unique thing that you don't really see these much anymore.
yeah,
That was if you're a young buck out there, that's an original video animation. These were direct to VHS releases that were somewhere between an episode and a feature length thing. They were normally
Mhm.
anywhere from 45 minutes to like an hour and a half generally. And there were tons and tons of these from back in the day. This was a
Yeah.
big one.
This
It's
is one of those.
almost. Go ahead.
Also, this is one of those penultimate ones that people like kind of hang their heads by. And honestly, when we get into this more, with the mangaka art, the artist is well known for, we'll see how all this stuff fits together. But the thing is, when you get into this, yes, the art doesn't exactly match the Japanese comic, the manga, but the storytelling kind of does. It's I don't want to go too much into that, but I really like this particular, this creator, this artist, and writer. He really embraces fully what it means to have cyberpunk.
Yeah, that's Masamune Shirow for
Yes.
those out there that aren't familiar, who's better known for Ghost in the Shell, which is
Yes.
his lasting work, his magnum opus, as it were. Um, which is that was to me is like one of the pillars of this era of anime, one of the four pillars of, along with Akira, Vampire Hunter D, and oh god, Ninja Scroll.
Yes, from this era, yeah,
Those would be,
definitely.
to me, those are the four pillars of late
Yeah.
80s, early 90s anime. So
Yeah,
um,
he was actually born Masanori Oda. His actually, that's his pen name, is Masamune Shiro.
no
Uh,
kidding.
Born November 23rd, 1961, so he's really not that much older than us, which is kind of neat to think about. He got his
Oh yeah.
start really young. He broke into this. He really he struggled. He put a lot of stuff out. His original one, which actually I like also, I used to have on VHS, is Black Magic M66, which there's a little callback in this.
Yes, yeah, yeah, there is, and that was another one that I remember seeing a lot. I don't know that I ever saw that, but I remember seeing it in a lot of things because at some point back in the late '80s and the early '90s, my friends and I ended up with a catalog for this place called Kimono My House. Do you remember Kimono My House?
I do not. That's a new one for me.
Okay, so these guys were, for a little while, they were like the mail order place for anything like Japanese or anime related. Like you could get t-shirts or like figures or VHS tapes or any of that kind of weirdo stuff. Stuff that you can just go to the mall and get from like Hot Topic or Box Lunch now, or like any comic book store or anything like that. But
or Amazon for
people,
that matter.
yeah, well, younger people don't really get that stuff was rare back then. It was like you couldn't get it. You couldn't just go. You couldn't just go in and get it. And I remember, hearing about people that lived in like San Francisco or New York where they had a Chinatown, and there'd be like, oh, there's a video store that they just stock rentals of all this like untranslated anime. You just go rent whatever you want, like as it comes out. Like just blows my mind, because it was like you had to be in a secret club here to get that stuff. I remember. I remember for a while there was one dude in town that he had like a chest, like a big moving trunk, like a steamer trunk that was just full of VHS cassettes, these like subtitled VHS cassettes, and like you had to be in with him to even get access to these things.
The keeper of the anime.
But he was a dude that looked like a guy that you would imagine would be really into anime in the 90s, because it was a bunch of garbage. Like it was a bunch of like screaming girls and stuff. What's that?
Was it a McAfee?
I don't know who the guy was. I have no idea who he was. I remember seeing him like all the time, but I never wanted to deal with him because he looked like a guy that was really into anime. I mean, okay, so because let's explain this, because
no,
like,
you're right.
Now,
you're right.
It's all like mainstream now. That's all, like my son can just turn on Hulu and watch Demon Slayer or whatever Naruto or One Piece, whatever's out, that kids 100%. Watch these days. You can just, it's just there. You can just have it. And everybody, because that's the mainstream thing of adventure cartoons now, pretty much. But back in the day, back when when this came out, and when I was learning about these things, there were two very, very distinct camps of people that were into these things. There were people that you would think of that are anime people, like the stereotypical anime person.
Yeah, we talked about it before.
Yeah, that kind of. And I'm not disparaging anyone, because it's
no.
But also it was kind of subversive though, because like a lot of my friends that were into punk rock all loved Akira. We loved we loved watching Robotech and this stuff.
Man,
so
look, like Wu-Tang is huge into anime and samurai. I mean, come on, that's the thing. It was subversive in the culture, but people didn't talk about it. You had to you had to know that cool guy or the anime guys. It's not trying to disparage anyone, like you said. It was just that way.
That's just, and there wasn't a lot of crossover. Like the punk rockers didn't hang out with the trunk of anime guys. No. But yeah, so we got this catalog called Kimono My House. They just had tons and tons and tons of stuff in there, and it was just page after page after page, and they didn't really explain what a lot of it was. It was like clothes on pins and just like 10 pages of these things, and then like t-shirts, and like my friends and I ordered t-shirts, and I remember ordering the first time we ordered, I got a Captain Harlock t-shirt, because Glenn Danzig from the Misfits wore a Captain Harlock shirt, so I wanted to have a Harlock
punk rock.
And but I ordered my size, but it was too small. I guess it was a Japanese size, so I wore that shirt one time and it shrunk, and I can never wear it again. But I also ended up getting
size.
I got a Godzilla t-shirt also that was my size, and that I wore for a million years till it fell apart. But it was weird because it had the shadow of Godzilla, but then it had the text of Godzilla on the bottom. But the text was like that puffy print, and I never understood why they did the puffy print. I hated that part, but I like that Godzilla shirt though. I wish I still had it.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny you say all that though, because like you said, it subverted. It was kind of like the outskirts of everything, and think about it, punk rock is on the outskirts. The kind of I feel like in larger cities it was kind of subverted into like hip hop and stuff like that, because once again Wu-Tang.
Right.
I mean, like one of my favorite albums, I know yours also, Jizza, Liquid Swords. I mean, that's just samurai clips, and I love it. I can listen to the whole thing, and like that was it. You have these people that you would associate with it, realizing that this is cool stuff, and then you realize that it's okay with them, so you can be a little more open with it. And then like you said, I can turn on Hulu. Like I was watching Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, which is a great show, just while I was doing homework earlier.
That's on every streaming service now, and it was like like that would have been back in the day, if you wanted to watch that, you would have had to have ordered like 8 VHSs that were like $30 in early 90s money.
100%.
Like that's the thing, and now it's just there. You can just you can just have it.
I used to go to TBS Comics, and I would buy their fan subbed Rurouni Kenshin in clamshells, and they were badly copied off of VCR or whatever, and then fan subbed at the bottom, and they weren't always right. But then now you can just like turn on like I said, turn on Hulu or Netflix, and it's just the whole series is there.
Yeah, exactly. You'd pay like $30 and you get a VHS that had 2 episodes, and it
easily,
was,
that was my experience with Evangelion. Actually, I usually buy like $25 a tape from like Sam Goody or whatever, and they had 2 episodes. Yeah.
Speaking of Evangelion, this show was actually produced by Gainax, who's better known for Evangelion, for running out of money at the end of Evangelion.
That's okay. That's a whole controversy for another time. I actually like that last episode just because it's an existential crisis, but that's just me. I get it. It worked out really well in my opinion. Fans hated that stuff. They wanted like world-ending stuff. But so yeah, look, let's just go back on track here for a second. It's like we could talk about anime stuff and our growing up, because it was a struggle, man. Like there was you'd have that person you knew who had like imported, Go Lion toys, not the Matchbox ones, the imported Go Lion toys, or imported Valkyries, not like not
Jetfire.
Yeah, not Jetfire. No, dude, don't disparage Jetfire. But but you'd have that sort of thing. So it was, like you said, it was extremely hard to come by. So when I think I was like 18 or 19, I was huge into anime. I mean, I was collecting right soon after I was collecting Evangelion, but I was like, I'd go every couple of weeks, and I got, after I got paid a couple times and had a little extra money, I'd buy a video. And like some great ones like Pat Labor, which I don't know if anyone watches Pat Labor. The movie 1 and 2 are fantastic.
They are very good.
The whole idea of a dystopian future, I didn't really get into the Neuromancer or sort of thing, but because I know you're a huge fan of Neuromancer.
Yeah.
But all these things were really directly influenced by the writings like Neuromancer and other subsequent things influenced by Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Right.
All these things were direct influences. They were universal. So you see a lot of this in Appleseed. So
you absolutely do. But getting into it though, the first thing you notice about Appleseed, about the OVA here, is that the animation is explicitly not very good. And this is, we touched on this with the difference between the cover art and the actual animation. That cover art is, Shirow has a really stylized style. He's got like almost like a watercolory kind of thing going on. It's like when you see the concept art from like a Final Fantasy game, when those I can't remember that guy's name, but he does all those really crazy elaborate paintings, and then you see just like an 8-bit pixel character in Final Fantasy. That's Yoshitaka Amano, I think is who I'm thinking.
I think that's what it is.
But the thing is, like, this OVA, it's par for the course for 1980s TV anime. But look, man, this was released the same year as Akira. Which is to this day still one of the best animated movies of all time. Like from a technical like animation standpoint, you can I don't, if you want to complain about the last 30 minutes of it having 3 lines of dialogue, I don't care. Don't come at me with that. I don't care, because I could sit and watch that city blow up for the rest of my life, and it's totally, I could watch
Tokyo blow up like every other anime has.
I could watch Canada like zoom down the streets with the tracers on the lights. I could watch that for the rest of my life.
That's actually incredible. Just like the Ghost in the Shell movie that came out. But those are standards, and we have to remember that anime really wasn't all that accepted mainstream before Akira, before Ghost in the Shell, before Miyazaki's things became more mainstream. Anime wasn't considered a viable mass market thing for Americans, and it was kind of still weird. So at this time in 1988, it was still kind of weird. I mean, God, 1988, I was in middle school. Yeah, was that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to been like sixth grade or something. So
Yeah, that was my last year of middle school, and
yeah,
um,
it seems about right.
but yeah, people forget like how much Akira like upped the game though is the
Oh
thing, and
yeah.
and you can't not compare anything to it that came after it, especially
Mhm.
like something like this where you're dealing with you know like a cyberpunk sort of setting and this kind of thing. Um,
And this is really proto this is really proto Ghost in the Shell. A lot of the concepts he used in this
kind of did.
really directly played into Ghost in the Shell. All these neat little gadgets, cyber brains, bioroids, all these things that people being born into this utopian society actually plays into a lot. One of my favorite animes, Psychopaths. It's a very directly influenced from Masamune Shirow's work. So I mean, this is keystone anime for the whole era to me. You can't have what we have now without Gundam, without things like Appleseed, without at least the manga. You
Yeah,
can't have Bubblegum Crisis. These are keystone animes.
no, I mean, I'm not like that will have to deal with at the end when we get into like overall thoughts. But no,
Yeah.
that's a good point. But I'm like off the bat though, the opening bit of animation is just not good. And the other thing that immediately stands out is that I watched a dubbed version of this, which anime fans can go ahead and you guys can go ahead and come to my house and beat me up. I don't care. That was what was available on Tubi, and man, this voice acting is terrible. And I've said before how a lot of times when you watch stuff from like Streamline Pictures and like manga entertainment, Japanese comics entertainment, they use the same like six voice actors, so the main character is always
Yeah.
the main is that one voice actor is always the main character and all those things. So you hear the guy that did like the original voice for Canada and Akira, and he's in like every movie. And then you hear like I think he was also like Vampire Hunter D, and he was also like the Ninja Scroll guy. And you're like, wait a minute, that's the same dude. But like
It's
these
a
guys are
very
just
archetypal voice.
right. But he was a competent voice actor. I don't know
Oh,
who
yeah.
I don't know his name, but I mean he was a competent voice actor. But these guys are terrible. Like these guys are like D grade, and it was like it was like some dudes like kind of fell backwards into having the license for this, and they're like, hey, guess what, we're gonna localize Appleseed. Like, who's gonna do the voice acting? Like, I don't know. These guys just
Joe,
kind of,
you can
let's
do it.
figure it out. I don't know.
Well,
And
yeah, this was very early on in dubbing also. You had things like Go Line becoming Voltron. You had Battle of the Planets, G-Force, whatever you call it. These are very early anime things. And yeah, you can beat us up all day long for watching the dub, but at the end of the day, this is what we had back then. You didn't have a lot of subtitle things. I gotta tell a story though. Like anime fans, true anime fans are gonna beat me up. And I've changed since then, but I remember I kept seeing Macross Plus when it came out. It was this whole event. It was beautifully animated too, and I kept going and renting the same like 2-3 episodes because it was a complete OVA, and then they did this theatrical release on one
one take.
VHS,
Yeah.
and I bought it, and I was so angry because it was all subtitled. There was no dubbing. You couldn't get it dubbed. It was all subtitled, and I was angry, man. I don't watch subtitles. I've come around since then because obviously back when we were you couldn't get a lot of the stuff, you had to deal with subtitles, and you kind of get used to it. And you realize that the Japanese voice actors hear a lot more about what they're saying
Yeah,
than
yeah,
the
they really
American
do.
ones. So you have that whole thing. So but back then, Appleseed, you couldn't find it unless you could find like a fan subbed. You couldn't find it subtitled. It was all dubbed. You just
Yeah,
found it dubbed.
yeah, yeah. And and it was one of those things where if you were lucky enough to have a video store that carried anime near your house, then you just got whatever you got. Like
Yeah.
they always had like this and like two tapes of like the Venus Wars and
Oh, 100%. And around my one half.
and yeah, yeah, Ranma.
Oh God! The middle of the show somewhere, you just see like the some girl, attacking random on the cover. That's all you saw. There was like 2 or 3 versions of that.
I never wanted to watch that. I always ended up renting Project Aco instead, and that was very silly anime, but I always like that one. But
there's one I was seeking out American voice actors who did some of the stuff for like Evangelion and stuff. So I was kind of looking up for a few of them. I found this one of them who did the Asuka's voice actress. She was actually, I guess she did a really good job because she spoke German actually, and the character's supposed to. So I'm like, I'm gonna find her stuff because she actually seems to care a lot about doing the stuff she did. So I found was it Plastic Little was a was an anime she did. She's like,
that one.
Yeah, she goes, yeah, we call it Plastic Nipple because the way they animated it.
That sounds about right.
It's an anime, but they're showing certain things off a lot more than else. But that's actually one of the things I want to jump in here, though. I said that to make a point. They did not try to make, oh God, what main characters highlights times Newt, Noonan. Thank you, Noonan. She did not make her buxom at all.
They didn't know. They didn't. They didn't attempt to make her any sort of like attractive really, or any character for the most part. And that's not what that was. That's pretty rare.
The way she reminded me of the female co-star of RoboCop. I can't remember her name right now. Murphy. Well, yeah, the character's name, not the actress. But Murphy wasn't shown as being very girly either. She was very tomboyish. It didn't show. She wasn't shown as being very curvy, and that was the thing that they did with Dune and Newt here. It was just kind of nice and just unusual, because you expect that. What actually the animation reminded me a lot of is Fist of the North Star. The way they drew faces, especially on Athena.
You think so? I don't really see that. Fist of the North Star's got a really weird, like really angular faces. The only to me the closest comparison to Fist of the North Star is it looks like a primitive version of God, that there's some new school anime that kids really like.
Bizarre Adventure.
Yes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yeah, it looks like a proto version of that, and which is fine.
I like that.
So we got a SWAT team here. We have a SWAT team here that one guy has a really cool one of those cool SWAT watches where they has like the piece of cloth that goes over the watch face.
Important, so you don't shine it.
Right. My stepdad had one of those when I was a kid. I always thought it was the coolest thing. And this was very cool seeing this here. We have a cyborg dude with a robot head. He's a giant. He's like twice as tall as the main character, but he's the other main character. This is Buliaros.
That's it's spelled like Brariaros, but it's pronounced Buliaros. It has a long Greek sounding last name. I had it down. I lost my file where I wrote the stuff down. But yeah, he is apparently he was Dunan's partner, and during some sort of thing that happened apparently in the manga, they explain this. He jumped on a grenade to save her, and they gave him a prosthetic body.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she has very much a loyalty to him, and he has a loyalty to her. They're attached to the hip because he almost gave his life for her, and so they're tight. That's why they had this relationship.
He's a real cool guy, though. He's got a really cool robot head with 5 camera lenses for eyes,
bunny ears.
He has bunny ears. They did some cool stuff with the bunny ears, though. They kind of moved around with his mood and what he was thinking or whatever. So he's kind of like RoboCop a little bit, and but he's got like a weird New York accent too, though.
He does.
Like this voice actor is awful.
Doing
Yes, so they're chasing this guy down. They're chasing this main bad guy down, and Buliaros says that this guy is he must be part cyborg. How are you a part cyborg? You're either a cyborg or you're not. If you get one thing in you, you're a cyborg. That's it. There's no part cyborg. Like, I guess.
So if you get like a shoulder replacement, are you a cyborg?
See, that's the real conundrum, isn't it? If you have a pacemaker, are you a cyborg?
Yeah. But I think what he's trying to say is, they're trying to establish, I think, at this point in the movie, trying to establish what makes a cyborg, what denotes a cyborg, and he's not wrong. But
he's not. Well,
he's not wrong. Yeah, I think it's like some easy exposition right here.
Right. I
I
mean,
love
part
this.
robot would be like, okay, cyborg, you're part robot.
So one of the best things is I love how the SWAT team actually handles this, because it's a situation where it could go really badly. So they're sent in because they are like the elite SWAT force.
Mhm.
And you see Duna's hanging on the side of the building. She's looking in the window and she sees the cyborg guy who we'll know as AJ Sebastian in a while. Kind of looking in, she sees him. She's like, "All right, cool." She watches him go in, and then they penetrate the perimeter and do their whole thing. Which you know I like when he's you're getting this oh god Chekhov's gun right here, because he's burning files. You don't know why he's burning files. You just see a little bit of the bi-droid or whatever it is, the big tank thing being burned in the toilet. And he's like looking over there, and he has this accent. It's like, or his voice is like he's expecting to say, "Yeah, I'm burning the stuff," ha ha. Like this villain voice. He just kind of has. So
I think that was the multipede. I think is a blueprint for the multipede is what that
yeah, it was like a hover
like a
tank.
giant
Yeah,
like a giant walking robot kind of thing.
which is very much the
So
style of you seen Ghost in the Shell too. So this is like
it
a
is
proto
very
Ghost in the Shell.
yeah, it is very Ghost in the Shell. It's also it reminded me a lot of there's a line of models from Japan called Maschinen Krieger that were like these sort of diesel punk like World War II and like junk
Yeah,
mashups that this guy
I,
did.
I love
It
that
reminded me
stuff.
a lot of that kind of or like God, what's that video, that side scrolling video game where
Metal Slug.
Metal Slug, yeah, it was kind of Metal
It's
Sluggish.
the same kind of aesthetic he used in Dominion Tank Police, which he also
It
did.
yeah.
Dominion Tank Police was huge when with the weeb community when I was in Vanilla High School. It was huge. I don't mean okay. I don't mean to say weeb as a pejorative, but it is. But I mean that like someone who was devoted to anime. It was like they built their life around anime. Dominion Tank Police we got started getting into that buxom woman.
And you had two in that.
Yes, and
Yeah,
using the metal slug kind of tanks. It really was.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So AJ Sebastian sounds a lot like one of Marge Simpson's sisters. He's got he sounds like Patty and Selma. He's got that voice.
Yeah, I was taking a leak.
He sounds like that.
Oh god, I can't unhear that now. That's great.
So around this time we get the first musical interlude, and man, we have got some Japanese city pop going on here. We have got this like inoffensive like jazz pop. Like this is like I like this stuff because it very much reminds me of the 80s. It reminds me of like of bland television from the 80s.
I would say though, it reminds me of a anime stylized Blade Runner background jazz.
That's
That
exactly
film,
what that's exactly what it is.
yeah,
And the thing is this music just permeates the entire thing. It's there. It's constantly there. And even when something's supposed to be serious or like action packed or whatever, you just get this do 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 like yeah, and it's like kind of bouncy, bass guitar. This gong, 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 gong. And it kind of there's times where it kind of threw me off because I could have used some hard like synth music at some point in this. I thought that would have it would have done pretty well. But
that's the thing though. I blame my dad. I blame him slash appreciate the fact that he brought me up, listened to a lot of new age. He actually funnily called it white guy jazz. And some Emerson Lake Palmer, some
Spyro Gyra in there.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
Some like Donald Fagen, some
Some yacht rock. A little
yeah. I
little
mean,
yacht rock.
well, it wasn't really yacht rock then though. It was like
That was Donald Fagen. That was some yacht rock, dude.
well, but it was like it was very new agey white guy jazz. And this is what it
Okay.
reminds me of. It's so good. That's why
Yeah,
when I
okay.
watch Blade Runner now, I appreciate it so much more because that it sets a mood.
I can see it. I can see
Yeah.
it. We meet the character we meet the character
Shoes
Hitomi
on.
at this point, and Hitomi is she's sort of like Schindler. Her whole thing is she rescues people from these war zones. There's these bombed out war zones, and she takes them and brings them into this the city of Olympus, which is like this utopian city where this whole thing is set. Um,
You know, this kind of has aspects of did you ever watch Big O?
I did watch a little bit of
Yeah,
it. Yeah, because yeah,
this microcosm of a city that no one really pays attention to what happens outside the city. It's just almost like this domed microcosm of a city, and everyone's appreciative. And everyone does their kind of thing, and people don't ask about what happens in the outside world anymore.
right.
It's kind of how it feels, actually. I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's
interrupt you.
no, it's very much a hey, like whatever happens under this dome, then like we don't care about anything else. So, but this is still pretty cool though because she's an altruistic character that's rescuing people from these these bombed out war zones where people are just getting killed constantly, and we get some cool pans of these blown up tanks and like dead
Yeah.
soldiers and tanks and stuff. That was very cool. Looked kind of like an 80s thrash metal album cover, like a nuclear assault cover or something like that, or
Yeah.
uh,
Oh God,
uh,
yeah.
like an Exodus cover maybe or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
I can see
that.
that. Yeah, the outside of the dome, you have like very desert, like wasteland kind of things, just like in Big O.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
sprawling desert. You don't know what happens beyond the desert. It could be, another dome or something. It could be the ocean. It could be some like lavish green land, but they don't really care. What
Right. Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Olympus is important.
It ultimately doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's the story happens inside the dome here. So but AJ Sebastian has a crew though. These guys break into some place and they steal some really cool looking mechs.
Yeah. Was it land? Oh,
Landmates.
yeah. Thinking of land.
Landmates, right? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why he's doing this. But we have mechs now, so the stakes have been raised here, and I'm on board. I'm
Yeah.
totally cool with this.
Honestly, it's a what it was very much like once again proto well, let's say proto, but this kind of happens alongside of Bubblegum Crisis. Bubblegum Crisis, the main characters use like exosuits to fight like things like people in mechs and
Mhm.
like big cyborg things. So that was this whole era that really, I mean, it really lends itself to the era of what would happen if we had things like people augmented. So yeah, I mean, like with the mech suits, it lends itself to what's they up in the stakes, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like showing the baseline technology. Also, that there's cyborgs, but we've got some power armor also.
Oh God,
So we go to this really bizarre scene, like in a bar, in the coffee house, uh, and so the what is it? Dunan and Buliaros are there, and Hitomi's there, and they're kind of Hitomi's coming to town, and they're kind of cheering her for being the one that rescued them because they all feel like owe a debt of gratitude to her or whatever. But so Hitomi just gets wasted and she is falling down. She's got like the red, like that they drew her cheeks red and
yeah,
everything. And
it's a very stylized way they draw
yeah,
anime
well, yeah,
girls.
that's part of the language of
Yeah.
anime. Yeah, and cartoons in general. But
Mhm.
so she's hitting on this dude with a sleeveless denim shirt. This is a guy we saw earlier on. He was from the opening scene of the very poorly animated opening scene of the movie.
Yeah, Karen.
But he's got a sleeveless denim shirt on. He's another cop too. He works with Dunan and Buliaros.
Yeah.
So I like this because this is how cool guys dressed in 80s anime. Like if you had a sleeveless like shirt on, you were cool, right?
Yeah.
But see,
100%.
but this reminded me of another thing though, because there used to be a dude that I would see around town in nerd stores when like the comic shop or like
Yeah,
video
man.
game places or
Yeah.
GameStop or Babbage's, I guess it was back then, or Software
God,
Etc.
I can see
Before
back
they all got
Babbage's.
yeah. So this dude dressed um like he dressed like this, but in real life. So he
Yeah.
dressed like what we called him a generic badass is what we called him. He looked like a mook. He looked,
he dressed like the redhead kid in Terminator 2.
so if there were like 10 of these guys, they would be the easiest guys to fight. And like because the more of these guys there are, the easier there are to fight, right? So he looked like that, but like he wore like a sleeveless button-up denim shirt all the time,
Yeah.
and he had some bad tattoos. And I think one of them was an anime logo. I think he had a like an initial D logo tattooed on his shoulder.
Of all the animes they
Which
have,
is, on the one hand, I'm like, that's real dumb, man. On the other hand, I'm like,
respect.
it's kind of cool. because I mean I like Initial D. So, but he would wear fingerless gloves and sunglasses like constantly.
I
This is
think
just
I know
how
what
he
you're
dressed.
talking
He looked
about,
like
dude. I think I know what you're talking about.
he
I
looked
never
like an
met
anime
him.
goon.
Yeah, yeah.
He looked like a goon from anime, and he looked like a guy where they would
I
animate
think I know exactly what you're talking about.
they
Holy
would
crap!
animate like 20 of this guy, and you know
Yeah,
like Ken from Fist of the North Star would beat up like these guys in
he
mats, right?
looked like he wanted to be a character in Fist of the North Star with that sleeveless denim shirt,
He
and
did.
yeah, dude, 100%. I
Yeah,
know
he did.
exactly what you're talking about.
So I always respected that guy for
Or
being like
Final Fight.
he did. He looked like Terry was going to beat this guy up, you know, like
He looked like he
um
wanted to be Guile.
yeah, dude. But this guy was like 1,000% committed to this look, and I thought that was super cool, and I totally respect that. But he also 1,000% proved that that look does not work in the real world. Like I always wonder what happened to that guy. Like
Oh,
I
oh,
hope that guy's
he's a greeter at Walmart, I'm sure.
dude. Oh, it just it makes me sad because like I just like
God,
I'm just on the lookout for like an initial D tattoo, or like maybe it was GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka. Maybe it was that.
really?
I think it might have been.
I could see initial D. GTO though.
I think it might have
So
been GTO.
that's the thing though, man. It
Actually,
was
you know what?
weird.
I want to say that both shoulders were tattooed, so he may have had both.
God, I don't remember the tattoos at all. I just remember him. And he was one of those guys. He didn't talk to anyone, so you didn't really know what he's like. But then again, he could have been just like
You know,
um a Kevin McAfee guy, you know, who wore like
there
a
was
Kevin McAfee who went to school with. He wore a ringmail shirt under his polo shirt at the school one day. He's like, "He hit me." I hit him, and he's like, "I made that myself," and I didn't know what to say.
I don't know what to say now.
It was sort of pep rally. Oh God, pep rally at Washington High School. He's like, "Hit me." I'm like, "I don't want to hit you." He's like, "Hit me." So I hit him as hard as I could, and he just smiled at me like, "I'm like, really, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I did that. I spent the last month making that."
Oh my god, that's insane,
Impressive,
dude.
but still, that's some dedication. Anyways, sorry, back on track.
So AJ Sebastian here. I figured out. I was trying to figure out who he was dressed like, and he looks like cartoon Lex Luthor.
He kind of does actually.
He looks
The
like superpowers. He has the purple and the green on,
and the fashion in this
and he's
is
bald. He's bald also. So
well, he's got to be bald. He's a cyborg, man. He's out of the implants. He's got like the one, you know, cover. It looks almost like he's like a patch over his eye, but it's because he has a cybernetic eye implant.
cyber eye. Right,
Yeah.
right.
And he has that weird patch that across his head like this. It's like a rectangular patch that apparently all cyborgs have to have. At least you know,
oh
he's a
yeah.
cyborg.
Oh yeah, you know you got to have that.
Yeah.
Like in Cyberpunk 2077, really
Yep.
established you got to have lines all over your head somewhere. But so we get the plot of the movie revealed here. So basically, this AJ is like trying to lead an uprising against these biodroids. Biodroids, we find out, are like these clones, these enhanced clones of humans. So he doesn't like these things because they're trying to have a say in the government, and he doesn't like that because he doesn't think they have any right to rule over humanity because they were created as tools of humanity. And I mean, I'm gonna say, man, with the whole AI thing that's going on right now, my man's got a point.
Well, I got to say, okay, first of all, I there's a couple points here. First of all, they were genetically enhanced to be like the people to run the city. They were made to run this city of Olympus. That's first thing. Second of all, I just had a thought when I was watching. I remember this as well. This plot is directly the season one of Psychopaths, where he wants to subvert the main computer that runs the city. Psychopath season one, there's this I guess sociopath psychopath who wants to take down the main computer that runs all the city and create chaos, because when you create chaos, apparently afterwards everything's great. That's exactly what AJ Sebastian's doing. Like I said, the exposition is pretty early in this. There's not a lot of like, what is he really trying to do? He tells you what he's trying to do early on.
Right.
So
yeah, and I mean, I get, it leads to a lot of like philosophical questions about like are biodroids, or bioroids as they're called, and every other version of this, are are they human? Do they have the same rights as humans? And
Well,
that's a really interesting sci-fi like quandary there. Like I mean, you can argue it both ways. I'm not saying that they are or aren't. I'm saying that's a I mean, you could just make an entire like series on just based on that question.
yeah.
And it's probably the most interesting point that's raised by this show, and it's basically just kind of a almost like a throwaway point. It's just like an excuse to get him to do these things,
That's it's actually one of the most prescient points in the sort of dystopian future novelizations. Do androids dream of electric
that
sheep? Once again,
right.
next to six androids, they're essentially they're the step above in the evolutionary ladder of humans, but they have an expiration date. What if you didn't have an expiration date?
Right.
Are they any less human because do they have a soul? Do they have memories? So once again, the biroids, yeah, anyways, are they any less human because they're created? You get into eugenics, honestly, because they are organic, they are created.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So
that's a good point. And like I said, like I don't have an answer for it, and I'm not going to try to answer that here. I mean, because like
that's why it's such a prescient topic
yeah.
in anime or sci-fi still.
But no, agreed, and that's why it's almost kind of tragic that that it was just kind of an excuse that was all they really did here.
And this reminds
But
me, we got to somehow one day get a Blade Runner RPG, like tabletop RPG going. That book is just beautiful. I look at
yeah,
it every so often.
so I hear.
Yeah.
So there's some weirdness here with the animation, because there's a big gulf between the quality of animation of people and animation of mechanical things in this. Like a lot of these things, like helicopters and the multipede and like phones, look very good and very cool. They're like you could tell like some like these like draftsmen drew these things.
Mhm.
And I feel like those same draftsmen drew the people, because a lot of times the people are not. I don't know. I don't feel like the animation is quite as good, and when talking about organic things as opposed to like a motorcycle or like a building, because the buildings in this actually look pretty good.
The
Um,
well, yeah, all the like the what the heck, the mechs. I'm trying to land
oh, the landmates.
landmates. They're still very basic, but they have a lot of care given to them. I
Hmm.
mean the big MacGuffin at the end, yeah, at the end of it. Well, we already know the big spider floaty tank has such care added to it. There's texture to it. He I feel like his animation style, which they try to emulate from his manga, whatever, from the Japanese comic. It is so organic with also being mechanical. There are no hard edges. It is all circular, curved. It's very soft edges on all the machinery. The motorcycles, the helicopters, even the buildings in a lot of ways are they're very soft edged, structures.
That's kind of a like a hallmark of Shirow, though, because if
It
you think about
is.
like Ghost in the Shell, the mechs in Ghost in the Shell, like the Tachikomas, they're very bubbly and
Love the
very
touchstones.
a lot of round and not not a whole lot of hard edges or whatever. So we get a little more into this guy, Charon or Charon, I think is the actual
Yeah.
version of it, because most of the names in this are supposed to be from mythology, and they got poorly translated. Um,
Karen.
they call him Karen.
I never knew his real name or how it was
Yeah,
spelled until I looked at this episode. I forgot all about his name is Karen. I'm like, it was like Kareen because there's a Japanese name used in a lot of anime and manga. Kareen. No, it's actually Karen, like Sharon.
right.
So I almost wonder if they gave them these characters these names for a reason. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of them had, like some sort of ties to mythology and whatnot. Like,
Mhm.
that the city was called Olympus and all that
Athena.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's basically getting his landmate modified here, and
Mhm.
there's a really awkward bit of dialogue here where he's talking about um Dunin,
Yeah.
and they were comparing the landmates, and the mechanic that's working on it, is like he's like, yeah, man, yeah, well, what about Dunans? And so Charon goes like, she'll be a strong opponent. And the
I
mechanic
mean,
goes,
rival.
yeah. The mechanic goes, "Don't you mean a rival?" And he's like, Karen's like, "Sure, I do." What? Like,
It's really
what's
clumsy exposition.
what's the difference? Like
Yeah.
an opponent and a rival,
Well,
basically the same thing.
yeah, I mean, a rival can be like a rival teammate. An opponent is an opponent.
yeah, yeah. I guess that's a good point. It was
Like,
really awkward.
okay,
And
you do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so you can say like, well, someone you're sparring with is a rival. Someone you're sparring against at a tournament is an opponent or a what's the word they use in this? Not rival.
it was opponent and rival.
Okay, well, opponent, yeah. So yeah, I mean, essentially they're gonna be your opponent. So yeah, with this, yeah, it's like I said, it's clumsy exposition. It's he's given away the whole plot, what's happening soon. You know it's gonna happen, which whatever. Um,
Well, as a side note, I call them all my enemies.
there's
Just
this
kidding,
guy I used to uh
just kidding.
well, for someone who people who don't know, I my career is actually selling I sell liquor and wine. I now do beer and wine because I'm in Alabama. So this guy I used to I kind of had a respect for at one point, and he kind of fell off the wagon pretty hard, if you know what I mean. But I was doing a wine tasting next to him. We're just sitting around. And I said, "Hey, I like having you. There's my kind of rival." He says, "You're not my rival." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I'm my own rival. You don't mean anything to me." I was like, "What is that
Ooh.
supposed to mean, man?" He's like, "If I don't do well enough, I let myself down." I'm like, dude, you're not a Shaolin master. I'm your
Wow.
rival. I sell against you. But anyways, sorry, man.
Wow, that's
Then it
crazy.
was it was a really douchey thing to say.
Yeah, it kind of is. Maybe he listens to a whole lot of that song by Lit. Maybe
Oh
he's so
God,
into
he would
it.
listen to that too.
Probably would.
Oh yeah. Anyways, sorry.
There's a lot of cool weirdo cars with 6 wheels and 8 wheels in this. I thought that was really neat. I like the way those things looked. But this is tentatively like a cyberpunk thing, right?
Yeah.
And like when I think of cyberpunk, like the hallmark visual of cyberpunk as a film media is Blade Runner. That's kind of the genesis of that. You can go back and say that like Clockwork Orange was the proto thing. You can say other things were the proto thing, but it coalesces in Blade Runner, and everything else built on Blade Runner. The hallmark of Blade Runner, like one of the big things with Blade Runner, is that it's always dark, it's always raining. Like you see the sun every now and then, for the most part, only when it makes sense to cast cool shadows, right? But for the
Yeah.
most part, it's very dark and it's very rainy. It has been sunny in this movie since the second that it's there's no
Yeah.
rain, there's perfect weather, and it's very clean, which is also very kind of antithetical to cyberpunk in general, which I thought
Yeah.
was really weird. It was
Well,
cool, but this was almost like it's like the almost like the genesis of what I call a Taco Bell cyberpunk. Of like
um,
in the early 90s, there was this kind of move to where like taking some of the tropes of cyberpunk, but it was still
mhm.
very big and like pastel neon. I guess you call that vaporwave now. Like
Okay. I gotta say I don't agree with you here, and this is the reason
okay.
why. Um, they're supposed to be building a utopian society. That's the whole point of the Bioroids. That's the whole point of Olympus. So to create a depressing, dark, cyberpunk, like motif, goes against what the whole thing is here. It's supposed to be like, hey, we're going to take you out of war-torn Earth. We're going to put you under the dome where everything's beautiful, everything's sunny, everything's like really nice. And that's what the AJ Sebastian's rebelling against. He doesn't want it to be nice. He wants it to be real. He wants something tangible. So I think that's what this movie is trying to show.
Well, no, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this is like that the kind of the genesis of Taco Bell cyberpunk,
Hmm.
of which to me the biggest thing for that is the biggest touchstone of that micro genre would be Demolition Man,
Okay, I can see that. That's actually a
which
really good
everything was
kind
very
of bridge.
clean, and yeah. So and the more I
Three
think about it,
shells.
there's a lot of similarities there
Yeah, there
with
are actually. Well, Demolition Man is obviously brought from a cyberpunk aesthetic, but in a very, I guess, a whitewash kind of cyberpunk aesthetic. So
yeah.
three shells,
But
man.
what's
Three,
that?
three shells.
That's my family crest. Did you ever tell you that? Like my ancestral family crest is three seashells.
So okay, you know then. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I know how
That's
to
good.
use them.
Hey, dude, I don't want to give away to everyone else is listening. So as long as you know, we're good. I love my
Uh,
three seashells. Anyways,
so we get a really funny scene here of Bolearos and Dunan eating some food in this car, and Bolearos is like eating French fries, which is it's funny because he has a complete robot face. Like he
he's
doesn't have
got
a mouth or
five
anything.
lenses.
It just like opens up and he's just shoving French fries in his in like a hole
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
This is he's drinking a soda out of a straw too.
yeah. Well, he can't pour it in his mouth, man. He can't open his mouth the right way. He's got to use a straw. Don't be elitist.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was
It,
pretty
it
funny.
was actually, it was great. Um,
Um,
there, I don't know where this happens. I have like the vague memory of like, and they're making fun of how much time the Boleros and Noonan are spending together. Like, oh, you guys, married or something like along the lines. They're in the locker room essentially. And they're going like, no, what are you talking about? And this one also Android guy who has one, like antenna sitting on top. He's like, hey, doing it if Voyeurs doesn't do it for you, I'm available. It's just this whole thing where like people are trying to think they're trying to say that they're a couple, and like Dunan and Voyeurs, just like the main characters from Ghost in the Shell, God, what's her name? And her partner, essentially, who's I think Masamune Shirow likes having the partnership of a man and a woman without it being really a romantic thing.
well, but see
It
the
is
thing
kind of,
is
but it's
that
not.
in the manga and in the 2004 movie, like Bolearos and oh gosh, I forgot her name. Dunan,
Dunan?
they are romantically involved.
Okay,
So
I haven't seen that.
I think they just cut that out for. I think it was kind of pointless to even touch on it in
Okay,
in a 70-minute OVA.
yes, true.
Um,
Okay, I could check that one out because I haven't watched that because I wanted to focus on this one.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, um,
And I hate that I can't remember the characters' names from Kusanagi.
Kusanagi, yes.
Yeah.
Bato and Kusanagi.
Yes. You're yeah.
Yeah, they actually have a very strong, almost romantic, but it's not quite there kind of relationship.
Well, I mean that's you get the tension that
Yeah,
way. That's a it work. It works really well. But
you're right. Actually, it's very moonlighting of them.
I was about to say I was about to mention moonlighting.
There you go.
Yeah. We had a cool montage here of Dunan and Bolearos fighting crime to some city pop jams.
I love them.
This was weird and cool.
It was
I like
great.
this.
I love he's holding up the back of the car and the two wheels in the front are spinning. He's just crunching the back of this car. The guy's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Arr."
I don't know what they were even really looking for here, but this was
They
pretty
were
cool.
trying to find like leads to what was going on. I think from AJ Sebastian, and I don't know why they went about it this way.
It was real bizarre, but
It was an '80s montage moment. That's all you can say.
it was very
Yeah.
it was very much like when when you're fixing up the house or fixing up the car, fixing up the boat, fixing up something in the
Yeah,
80s.
you had to have some sort of '80s a glam rock, indie thing going on when
Yeah.
you're doing some kind of music in the background. Except they use this really weird, I guess yacht rock, new age jazz thing in the background.
It was so weird. So there's a bartender that is
Oh,
apparently an informant for Bolearos. He looks a lot
yeah,
like Dungeon Master from the old D&D
he
cartoon.
does.
Uh,
If Dungeon Master hit the Golden Corral every Tuesday for a while and didn't walk at all, man, that's 100% him.
so so this guy is he's gonna he knows what's going on. He has the whole scoop on
Yeah.
AJ Sebastian and also the fact that AJ Sebastian's working with Charon, and he's gonna dime him out. He's calling Bolearos. He's gonna tell him the whole story. And what happens here is that AJ Sebastian put some cool armor on. He's got some cool
Dude,
armor with like retrograde legs and
yeah, he basically puts on his military grade arms and legs and helmet and everything like that. He looks like he's gonna go. I don't know. He's got like, hey, well, we know now like running blades for people who had amputations.
Mhm.
He essentially puts on running blades with like weird dual foot things on them and like claw hands and stuff. So I guess we watch for claw hands in the Olympics. But yeah, he puts all this stuff on. It's really cool, and he because he's a cyborg, he hears what's going on with what's going on with the broadcast. from the secret room.
Right.
He kind of goes, "Yeah, I'll be there, but I gotta take care of something." And okay, in his voice, "I gotta take care of something first."
Yep.
And reaches through the bar, I guess, back and all the bottles and stuff, and like with his cool claw hand, and kills the guy in his little secret room when he's trying to out
He
AJ
crushed
Sebastian.
Dungeon Master's head.
He
And
did.
it was
Dungeon
pretty
Master. I
nuts.
mean, he should have stayed in the world of Dungeons and Dragons because he's dead now.
Oh man. So yeah, so we get back, we get a cool scene of these those mech suits that Sebastian stole earlier. There's a big orange, they look like repurposed industrial things. I thought that was really cool. They look really good. There's I like that. There's a scene where some of Sebastian's guys are going to try to kidnap was it Hitomi? Was that her? Yeah, Hitomi.
Yeah, Hitomi. Yeah.
And so they use some knockout gas. They throw some gas grenades into Hitomi's house.
Yeah.
And to knock them out, right? And which I'm sorry, it was Gus because it was translated. It was
So the same
mistranslated.
thing. Okay, earlier there was Olympus.
What was it?
Olympus when they had the city hall or whatever. It was
Oh, Olympus.
Olympus.
You know,
Yes.
the subtitles called it Olympus constantly instead of Olympus.
So
It was
yeah, actually,
OLUMPUS. Yeah.
this is actually very. It's let's pull it all aside here. Is very prescient and early Americanized anime. They wanted to seem like the West.
Mhm.
So they tried to translate things, but they never really translated it right. I don't know if the animators didn't quite get it. And they always they would not always, but every so often they had some weird spelling in the art. And yeah, they did this in the city hall. They did it on the gas or the Gus.
Yeah.
They would like poorly translate things that they would put on in the cell drawings.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
there's later on there's an emergency happens and there's a red alert. Red alert, red alert.
Red alert,
So,
red alert.
but so this gas knocks out Buliaros and Dunan, but like why would Buliaros get knocked out by this? Like,
I kind of
wouldn't he have some sort of a like if he was like that much of a conversion cyborg? If I'm just saying, if I was playing like a game of like Rifts and I was making this character, I would be like, okay, I'm taking poison filters
yeah,
as
exactly.
part of my cyber player. Like
I just would have been in Glitter Boy, which is essentially like those mech suits.
well, yeah.
But
yeah, so that was weird. But they get up and they reveal that Dunan had like a gas mask on, but it
yeah,
was pointless because they took Hitomi anyway. Like
yeah, I think the whole thing was like they were trying to like, okay, so this is my whole like explain it away kind of thing. We don't know that Bolearis is a complete cyborg. You could have like, you could have said like, well, maybe he's got some organic parts still. Maybe he doesn't have filtration. We don't know. The guys there who are using the Gus don't know exactly either. So, we could explain that away. He could have thrown a gas mask on Dunan. So, once again, they're taken care of. The guys looking them, okay, well, they're on the ground, they're out. So, okay, fine, whatever. But Hitomi, they've got to like let them the people think that they're out. So they want to find out what's going on. Well, they can't get to Hitomi quick enough.
they were right
Whole
Hitomi though. They were in the same room with Hitomi. Were they like feeding her to AJ?
No, she's in her bedroom like reading or something. She fell asleep.
I thought they were right there. I thought they were in the same room. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she's reading. Apparently, she's probably reading some bad manga or Japanese comics and fell asleep. Yes.
Right.
And yeah, so that's what's happened with that. And AJ, or no, it's not AJ. It's Karen.
Karen, yeah, Karen. That's not her, yeah. Maybe she was reading Golgo 13.
Oh, I love Golgo 13.
So do I. I have a figure of Golgo 13 on my Duke
Really?
Togo on my shelf over there. Yeah.
Man, Golgo 13 is fantastic. Golgo 13, for people who do not know, is the James Bond of manga or Japanese comics.
Absolutely, yeah, Japanese comics. Yeah, and one of the worst
cool.
NES games.
The women love him, and he leaves them all behind because he's Golgo 13.
He's got a cool white suit too.
Yeah.
So they we get a little battle here, and there's a really cool scene where Buliaros is holding a guy up, and he's got his gun at him, and he's like, "Let her go, or I'm gonna make you look like Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest.
Yeah.
Mr. Swiss, the winner of Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest. Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest.
Yeah.
This was some of the weirdest trash talk I've ever heard in a show
I
ever in my entire
I
life.
feel like
And
those bad translations. I hope. I hope.
I don't think it was. I think that was somebody trying to sound hard. That was what Shirow thought a Dirty Harry line would sound
But
like.
honestly, Bully Earth say like, "Hey, let it go! I'm gonna make you Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest winner." In his New York accent. So maybe it's supposed to sound much better coming out of his mouth, but it didn't.
I don't know. Hey, look, okay, look, listeners, if any of you guys are out there are from New York and this is a thing where you guys have Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest, send us an email, edhatestransformers@gmail.com. Let me know if this is a thing.
Yeah, I'll let Ariel know. Ariel used to live in Queens. Ariel, I'll put this to you, man. What would they say though? Is there a Mr. Swiss Cheese Contest? I just got to
Let us know. Let us
Yeah.
know. Hook us up. Let us know. Give us the scoop
100%.
on this. If there's a Mr.
Yes.
Swiss Cheese Contest, and if so, how do I get it? How do I get invited to that? Because I want to watch.
Yeah.
So all the bad guys, all the bad guys, all the good guys here, all the mook good guys here, they all look like Beachhead from GI Joe. They all have
Oh, they do.
they all have like green balaclavas and black vests on. They have got submachine guns.
What a great callback. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Real quick, I got to interrupt you. I'm sorry. There was at one point in the back of one of those cars. I don't know where it was. I remember the scene. Someone was reading a magazine and it had a Golgo 13, not Golgo, Jesus, M66 Android advertisement in the magazine.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
right.
that's a callback to Black Magic M66, which I appreciated. Anyways,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hazard stripes in this, like the yellow and black hazard stripes.
Yeah.
They show up a lot in this show, and I love these things. I've talked before about how I'm a big fan of Warhammer 40,000, and Warhammer, and in particular its cousin game Necromunda, are ate up with hazard stripes. They're all over. If you look through especially the 90s and the early 2000s art, everything. Like a dude will have like a chainsaw sword, and it's covered in the like OSHA's there just putting these hazard stripes on everything.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that initially kind of drew me into the setting. Is I saw pictures of all this terrain, these tabletop terrains where people had built up like a tower and all this stuff, and they look like big rusty industrial sci-fi areas, and just but the hazard stripes on everything. And I was like, man, what a cool thing, you know, and so there's a lot of them in this show, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Loken for life, by the way.
What?
Loken.
Well, Loken. Oh man, God, I can't wait to do the episode on Warhammer.
I gotta finish listening to the first book. Anyways, go on.
Oh, yeah. So
Gavril.
But so then there's this big deal going on where Edhatestransformers is in control of the multipede, and he's going to attack the city and all this stuff, and there's all these helicopters coming after him, and and it's like there's going to be this big battle.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, he is full of like bad villain lines. I'm gonna tear you up. I'm gonna go to the city. I'm gonna shut down the main computer. He just has these very gravelly, bad villain voice. It gets so much worse during the scene too. This whole segment.
So Dunin and Bulyaros and who?
Athena is your thing, the redhead woman.
Who's the leader of I guess like the mayor of Olympus, I guess.
Essentially, yeah. She's the person. She's in the untouchable leader of Olympus.
So they're like trying to get like to this like computer core or whatever. And Bulyaros gets shot, so we prove, and he's bleeding all over the place. So he does have organic parts.
Yeah, I was gonna say that he's leaking blood. It looks like, but I mean, you know. Is he organic, or is it like, is it one of those things where it's supposed to be like a mimic of like blood? Is the like
hydraulic fluid or something? I don't know. Like
whatever.
I took it to be blood.
It's essentially blood.
I don't know that he's like a full conversion cyborg, because they don't he's always got clothes on. You know, they don't show like his arms or whatever.
Yeah, well, maybe he's like the Undertaker when he's like alive, so he's like huge when he's a robot, but he's still got like, you know, regular legs.
maybe so. So they get on this this hallway, and he gets shot. He's pinned down. So Dunin gets shot in the hand, and it blows her gun up. So she has to use Athena's gun to shoot like a
left hand.
with the wrong hand, right? Because her hand's hurt, so she has to use the offhand to
Okay.
shoot this target to shut down the overrider or
Yeah.
whatever here.
So first of all, I got to ask, why is there a target to shoot to reset the computer? Why? Why do you need to shoot a gun at the thing to make it work again? Because in the city of like this city of good vibes and we're like Taco Bell um uh
Talking about cyberpunk.
cyberpunk. Yeah, thank you. Why a gun? Why can't you just like press a button that's behind a safe
That
behind a
seems like the
combination?
I need some look, man. I work, like I've said before, I work in internet security, man. Like gun is not an acceptable method of
This is
security
like
here. I need multi-factor authentication.
yeah,
I need an authenticator app. I need a text to the phone.
your mom's maiden name,
Something. I gotta
where
have
you
three
were
security
born.
questions.
And look, dude, I'm not, it's just fine. This is a Michael-based solution to a IT problem.
It very much is. But so she rises to the occasion. She shoots the thing, and it shuts the multi-feed down, and then the helicopters blow it up, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, well, we kind of glossed over there. Karen dies. Sharon, Karen dies. In his like reduced armor. God, what is the name of the mech suits?
The landmate.
Landmate. I can't. I have a mental block for that apparently. So he has that reduced armor landmate. He gets shot up, but he sends Hitomi into the terminal to shut down the computer. So he dies. So the whole thing is everyone's saved, everything's good again, and they kind of mourn Karen. And I don't understand why they did. He basically like wanted to screw their whole lives up for his because his girlfriend or wife killed herself years before that. And hey man, I'm 100% with that. It's a horrible thing. She couldn't exist in a perfect world because she didn't she saw like the I don't know the imperfections and the perfection. She had to leave her gilded cage is what the opening sequence is about.
Right. Well, yeah, she was an artist, and
Yeah,
she couldn't handle that. Yeah, looking for imperfections in a perfect world, I
yeah.
guess was the whole thing there. And but that was the end of it. That was
That's it.
they're in the hospital, or they're outside the hospital. They're bandaged up, and then they drive off, and that was it.
And then yeah, Billy Ars is like, I got a more weak and I can walk on my leg. He's in a wheelchair. I guess a huge wheelchair because the Undertaker needs a big wheelchair.
And he's a
So yeah,
huge dude, man.
yeah,
Dude comes up to like right at the bottom of his chest a lot of times
yeah.
in this. He is a hulking monster.
He is.
So
He is a hulking monster of a robot, and we usually talk about big robots. So this is actually it's near dear to my heart. So with his
yeah,
bunny ears.
and he has bunny ears. And that was
But
it.
yeah, it's done. It's over. Everyone's happy again. Everything's cool.
That was it. So yeah, man. This was a weird one, and I'm gonna have a hard time giving this a rating, to be honest. I mean, like the mech visuals in this were pretty cool.
Mhm.
I thought Bulliaros looked really cool.
Yeah.
I liked the mech suits a lot. I like the landmates. I thought it would have been cooler to have a big duel with them in the end, because it seemed like every time there was going to be like a big fight or a big battle or a big duel, which is what you want out of robot things. You want to see that, like, okay, good guys have a robot, bad guys have a robot. What do you want to see? Good Lord, I want to see them fight. That's the whole point of giant robot anime, is to robots fight. And you got these quick little, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So I thought it would have been a lot cooler to have like a big duel with like Charon and Dunin, and like, because they established that Charon customizes his suit. He goes for lighter armor so it's faster or whatever. Which okay,
It
that's
is really
okay.
fast.
And Dunin they say that she ordered her own suit also. And why couldn't they have given somebody a unique color scheme on their landmate? That's like anime 101. That's Max Sterling. That's that's Char Aznable. That's every villain or hero. They get a mech suit, and they get cool stripes on it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing a mech game, what's the first thing you do when you get a mech? Like,
Customize.
like, what's my paint scheme I got? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
you're playing Fallout, man. Like you got to get the one with the Nuka-Cola logo on it. You got to get that power armor. It's got to
Yeah.
look cool. They got to look cool. And these were just the general purpose, the standard issue landmates, and I didn't think that was cool.
Yeah.
The ending, very anticlimactic. Like it was such a nothing that I had to check to make sure that we didn't watch part.
Sorry, everyone. There was a weird spike in my latency here. My ping sucked. Anyways, yeah, man, you were ranting about the ending of this thing.
Yeah, so like I said, I had to check to see if this wasn't like volume 1 of 2, or if there was some more stuff after the credits, or what was going on. It seemed just very abrupt, like it could have used another like, I don't know, man, like 15 minutes. And that's rare that I say that, because I'm normally like, hey, cut 30 minutes out of this movie. Like I went and saw that Dungeons and Dragons movie last weekend, and I was like, man, take a half hour out of that movie.
Really?
To cut 30 minutes of talking out of that movie, and it would have been a lot better.
Okay.
But so I appreciate that this is a thing, and I like that it's there. It was one of those things that I'm glad that I got to revisit it. But as an OVA or as a film, I can't really put this in the same category as something like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Vampire Hunter D, or Ninja Scroll, the four pillars of early anime film. If I were to give this a rating, if I were to give this let me see, let me go adult rating. I'm gonna have to go. I mean, like I said, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't. I don't know, man. It seemed a little like it didn't have the hype. I'd probably go 3 winners of Mr. Swiss Cheese contest out of 5. That said, 1991 brain though, which is probably about the time that I would have, that I would have become like cognizant of this and been able to get my hands on it. 91 brain, that would have like 16 years old or so, 17 years old or something like that. If I probably would have, I'd probably rated it a little bit higher than that, honestly, because it was cool, and it touched on things that I was at the time I was very very much new to, like this whole like dystopian future, cyberpunky kind of thing. And I would, because there just wasn't a whole lot of things out there like that at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't much of a, that genre was still kind of new and hadn't been mined to death, and hadn't been kind of beat to death by things. And I would probably rate it a little bit higher. The only thing is that the problem with 1991 brain, that era Grumpy Ed, is that like this would have been so expensive that I probably wouldn't have bought it, because it was like you couldn't take a chance on these kinds of things, because I was poor. And like you said, you see that cover and you're like, oh man, like I gotta see this. And then you get it, and it doesn't look like the cover, because it doesn't look like Shirow's art. And so, because I very much, like at the time, $30 may as well have been $1 million for me in at that age. And so at known quantities only, like if I'm gonna spend $30 on a VHS tape, like I better watch that tape 100 times. I better watch it till it wears out, because I've got to get every penny of value out of that tape. So it's got to be Akira. It's got to be Ghost in the Shell. It's got to be Ninja Scroll. It's got to be Vampire Hunter D for me to shell out that kind of money. So even then, I like I said, I Teenage Brain would probably give it a pretty good rating. I'd probably go higher than I'd probably go 3.5. 3.5 bunny ear cyborg antennas out of 5. That's where I'm gonna stay. I'm glad that we revisited this, because it's one of those things that I feel like I know that I've seen like parts of it in the past, and I've taken a lot of this in by like cultural osmosis, but I don't think I ever actually sat down and watched this thing start to finish. So I'm glad we did. This was definitely not time wasted. But yeah, how about you? Where are you on this?
Okay, so I have a history of this. I've actually bought it on VHS when I was younger. So I spent $30. I watched this. I wasn't really impressed with the art. I'm gonna give like my 18-year-old brain compared to my current brain. So 18-year-old brain, I bought this. I watched it a couple times, and I didn't get it.
Mhm.
I think it really didn't. It didn't jive with what I thought I was going to get. I wanted something more. It was okay, and I watched it a couple times. It's just one of those things. I was disappointed when I was younger. So I mean, really, if you're coming down to it, I mean, 8-year-old brain is going to give this really like a maybe a 2 out of 5 cans of Gus, because it didn't have exactly what I wanted. Now I will say that with this caveat in mind, 45-year-old brain is going back and watch this, and I see so many of the proto dystopian sci-fi tropes being used right here, and so many of the the dystopian novelization, um cyberpunk things used in this. I appreciate it so much more, and like you said, it's great to come back and visit this, because I probably threw that VHS away somewhere or gave it to someone at one point because I just didn't like it very much. But come back and look at it now, the animation of the people aside, the animation of everything else is so carefully done. It's so nice. I mean, I would easily give this 3.5 Olympus City Halls out of 5, because it is so good to see the seeds of what we watch now. I mean, this is a germination of the seeds of what we watch now, that or what we continue to watch. That this is an important piece of anime, developed from a manga or Japanese comic,
Japanese comic.
of a world that inspired Big O, inspired he inspired himself to make Ghost in the Shell, and inspired Psychopaths, inspired so many things. It is important, and I think he did this when he was, God, he was probably in his 20s. He was making this stuff. He was he was moving the needle towards what we look at as contemporary cyberpunk aesthetic in his 20s. It's pretty impressive. So like that whole package, 3.5, Olympus City Halls out of 5 is pretty fair, I think. So yeah, man, I really am glad we came back to this. I think it's really fair, and it's good to come back to this. So yeah, but I want to wrap up real quick, saying thank you everyone for listening. It's cool. I love it. I love our community is building. And hey, look, if you want to join the small but growing community, check out our link in the show notes for the Discord, and of your podcast app. Sorry. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the link should be there as well in the summary and the show notes as well. If you wouldn't mind, give us a big old thumbs up, share it with some friends, share it on your Facebook page, share it anywhere, share it in your own Discord. On the podcast app, give us 5 stars because it helps people find us, which they have, which is really cool to find out how that algorithm works. And if you have a friend you think you might be into the show, send them a link to the show. They may listen to this and go like, man, they're talking about me and I don't like it. Or they might hear this, go like, I know that guy, I'm all into this. So yeah, if you want to send an email, you can just do that at morethanmeetstheseguys@gmail, or Edhatestransformers@gmail. So yeah, with that said, man, I want to wrap this up this week. This is our second Subdivisions. Real cool stuff, and I'm a big fan of being able to branch out like this. So I want to cut it off here, and Ed, you want to take us out with anything today?
Well, no, we'll be back next week with more back to Transformers. In the meantime, red alert, red alert.
Alert. All right, guys, take it easy. Thanks for being here tonight or today, whatever you're listening to this.
Whenever you're
next
listening.
week.
Whenever.